It's okay with the
I'm
audience.
crazy about baseball.
Will you stand still? Pick up your hat. Go pick up your hat.
Okay.
Now look. Then you'll go and peddle your popcorn and don't interrupt the act anymore?
Yes, sir.
All right. But you know, strange it may seem, they give ball players nowadays very peculiar names.
Funny names?
Nicknames, pet names.
Not as funny as my name, Sebastian Dinwiddie.
Oh, yes.
Funnier than that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Now, on the St. Louis team, we have who's on first, what's on second. I don't know's on third.
That's what I want to find out. I want you to tell me the names of the fellas on the St. Louis team.
I'm telling you, who's on first, what's on second, I don't know's on third.
Do you know the fellas' names?
Yes.
Well, then who's playing first?
Yes.
I mean the fellow's name on first base.
Who?
The fellow playing first base for St. Louis.
Who?
The guy on first base.
Who is on first?
Well, what are you asking me for?
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, who is on first?
I'm asking you who's on first.
That's the man's name.
That's whose name?
Yes.
Well, go ahead and tell me.
Who?
The guy on first.
Who?
The first baseman.
Who is on first?
Have you got a first baseman on first?
Certainly.
Then who's playing first?
Absolutely.
When you pay off the first baseman every month, who gets the money?
Every dollar of it. Why not? The man's entitled to it.
Who is?
Yes.
So who gets it?
Why shouldn't he? Sometimes his wife comes down and collects it.
Whose wife?
Yes. After all, the man earns it.
Who does?
Absolutely.
Well, all I'm trying to find out is what's the guy's name on first base?
Oh, no. What is on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Well, don't change the players.
I'm not changing nobody.
Take it easy.
What's the guy's name on first base?
What's the guy's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third. We're not talking about him.
How did I get on third base?
You mentioned his name.
If I mention a third baseman's name, who did I say is playing third?
No, who's playing first?
Stay off of first, will you?
Well, what do you want me to do?
Now, what's the guy's name on third base?
What's on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know.
He's on third.
There I go, back on third again.
Well, I can't change their names.
Will you please stay on third base, Mr. Broadhurst?
Now, what is it you want to know?
What is the fella's name on third base?
What is the fella's name on second base?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who's on first?
I don't know. Third base. You got an outfield?
Oh, sure.
St. Louis has got a good outfield?
Absolutely.
The left fielder's name?
Why?
I don't know. I just thought I'd ask you.
Well, I just thought I'd tell you.
Then tell me who's playing left field.
Who is playing first?
Stay out of the infield.
Don't mention their names out here.
I want to know what's the fella's name in left field.
What is on second?
I'm not asking you who's on second.
Who is on first?
I don't know. Third base.
Oh, take it easy. Take it easy, man.
So, yeah, thank Ms. Mioneer. With not being able to see it and reading it, you kind of miss a little bit of the humor in it. But I think it's a very famous skit that goes back and forth with Abbott and Costello, one being the sender and one being the receiver. And you can see that the sender isn't communicating in a way in which the receiver can understand that he's actually getting the correct answers that he's asking for, which we run into a lot of times. A lot of times us as communicators, when we're being the sender, we feel as though we're communicating with, we know what we're saying, and we're putting it out there and telling the person, hey, you know, who's on first? We're telling you who is on first. But the receiver's coming through and he's kind of scratching his head going, yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're saying out there. So when we stop and communicate, it's really important to understand that even though we know what we're saying, we need to make sure that we're communicating it effectively for that receiver to come through, or the person we're communicating, or the people we're communicating with. I am a trainer in my current, so I do multiple trainings, and sometimes I will give a training 5 times in 1 week. However, when I communicate it and send it to the different receivers out there, I don't always, the connotation and stuff that I use in it isn't always the same. I use different verbiage to reach the audience. So your receiver is basically your audience. And I manipulated and changed my communications in order to meet each different type of receiver. To say the biggest communication problem is that we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply, from Stephen Conway. Basically, what that's meaning out there is that when I am when I'm communicating or when someone's communicating with me, am I stopping and listening for what's going to be my response to that person? Or hold on, Rochelle just popped in, so. Okay. So
You're good.
basically,
Go ahead. I apologize.
But when I'm communicating to someone and I'm the receiver, if you're communicating to me, say, and you're gonna, you're explaining me your side of the story, am I listening to what you're saying so that I can reply to you? Or am I already formulating my response to you and not really listening? And that's kind of what Stephen Combe is saying in here. He's saying that we listen to reply. So as Abbott and Costello in their stint out there, he wasn't really listening. He was already formulating his response. He wasn't even giving a chance for the sender to communicate effectively what he wanted to put out there. So when we're communicating, the communicator has to respond or communicate effectively. However, our job as the receiver is also to make sure that we are listening and giving our attention to that communicator, and we're not already formulating our response before we hear everything. Because a lot of times the answer is given if you just wait and give that sender a minute to finish their sentence and thoughts out there, your questions do get answered. I find that lots of times in the trainings I give, people are already formulating their question to ask me, and they're not even listening to what I'm saying. So I spend half of the time saying, as we stated earlier in this session, this was covered here. So watch when you're with someone and make sure you're listening to reply to them. Effective communication. It all formulates to go together. In this slide here, basically, I'm going to age myself out here a little bit. Basically, it's showing kind of like what was called back in the day a telephone game, where one person starts the thought and then it goes around the robin and goes to see how long it got. So here we say maybe blue would work even better than green. But by the time it goes through everybody in the department, it now says she insists on keeping it green. So we need to make sure that we're doing effective communication and listening to our communicator when we go through it. So it's very important to make sure you're communicating effectively. A lot of times what I do in a meeting is that I'll bring, or even on an interview when you're out there, I'll bring a bottle of water or a drink. And if I feel like I'm losing that train of thought in my communication, maybe a noise in the background has sidetracked me on that, I'll just pause for a moment, take a drink, and then I can continue on with my communication. It gives me a chance to regroup myself, put it all out there, and then make sure. And then again, this is showing, make sure we're listening to the communicator and not just ready to give our answer at the end. So this goes into, does everyone remember doing the telephone game? I know it ages me. I had a really learning experience the other day. I actually, thank you, Erica. I actually worked with the legacy leaders. A few of them stayed after, and we were watching it together. And they were like, no, nobody knew the telephone game. So it was kind of funny. So I'm going to share with you here this video.
Oh my God. I need to really make sure this one is. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Oh my.
Wait, what?
I do know the word.
What?
I can't talk to save my.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You see, I was just getting a bit too.
Wait, you shook us. Hold on. Sorry.
See,
I got it.
You can do it. You can do it. You can do it though.
Okay, okay.
Take it, let's go.
Oh my
Take it,
gosh,
let's
so
go.
slow. Oh my. I see. Yeah. It's. Here he is. Done. He's like.
Oh, I think we did.
Okay, so you get the finishing. Let's hear what the ending came up.
Even in the middle of a pandemic, it didn't stop us from becoming legacy leaders.
Where did we lose it?
So the saying, oh, I lost my page. Even a global pandemic cannot keep me from being a legacy leader at IRSC. Sorry, bear with me a minute. I just getting back to my chat so I can see it, and I lost it.
Judy, I'll watch the chat while you're doing your presentation. No worries.
Okay, thanks. I had two screens up. I was watching it.
Yeah, it's hard with Zoom to do both.
I had it working, and when I switched to the video, I lost it. So sorry.
No worries. It happens.
So basically, what the telephone game talks, and I know I did see the chat before I lost my chat, that you weren't able to hear it, and I'm so sorry. I can, try to post it out somewhere and get with Michelle and see maybe if we can do it. It actually was really cute. They were a great, it was really, you're on angst because you're listening to try to hear the beginning sentence and then remember it. And when you're doing that, it's, oh my goodness, the stress of it. And Pedro's here. He can say, he was the part of it there. It was a lot of fun, but when you're given that pressure to communicate correctly, there is pressure there involved from one person to the next, making sure that it's accurate and going. And you can see even in that short little time that we went from the telephone game from the beginning to the end, it was close, but we did lose a few words here and there from the end. So basically what this kind of has taught us is make sure to be mindful of the things we say. Make sure you say it clearly. Words can be altered quickly when spread. And things we hear from others are not always correct. So you always want to make sure you go to the source when you're communicating with someone to make sure you're hearing if you have any questions on here. And I did just kind of want to put in this note here on this communication. We're talking more verbal in this one. Although we know that when we're looking for reliable sources, you also need to make sure when you're using the internet to use reliable sources as well. I just kind of felt that was an important source. I know in a lot of my college courses out there, there's one teacher, every exam he gives me in every module from module 1 to module 6, one of the main questions in there is, what's a reliable source? And he's got on there, Bling, Chrome, this, that, and the other. But basically what it comes down to is your library. It's the reliable source is very important. So when you're talking with someone, when you're using the internet, please make sure you have a reliable source when you're working on your communications. Now I'm not even going to go forward. Good communications are the key to success. Listen to others for comprehension. Be aware of body language. I am such a people person out here, and I rely so much, like I said earlier in the slide, I'm a trainer. I give numerous trainings a week. And due to the COVID, I've lost a lot of that because I'm so visual. These team sessions are so hard for me. I know if you're by watching everybody, I watch their body language as a form of communication. I can know if they're with me or not with me, if you're getting eye contact or if you're not on eye contact.
it helps me keep focused so that I'm staying on topic and following. Because I know if somebody's listening to here, one of the things with the onlines and the teams is a lot of times I feel like I'm talking to myself. Sometimes I tend to get a little comfortable and a little relaxed because I don't know, am I doing a good job or am I not doing a good job? Am I communicating? Am I reaching you when I'm communicating with you? Because I can't see that. And just remember, be direct, be quick, and empathetic with your people. There's multiple communication skills out there, multiple communication skills. In doing my research out here, I picked 5 communication skills that I kind of wanted just to take a minute with you and tell you that I found to be important. One is emotional intelligence. And that sounds kind of wild. Being able to control your emotions when you communicate with others. I know just the other day I was in a meeting with the teammate and we didn't see eye to eye on the subject. And so me as the trainer, I'm trying to communicate with her and get her to understand the reason why I was going down the road I was going down. It wasn't just my emotions. It wasn't just they come out and their biggest thing is say, well, it's Judy's way, is what they tell me. And I have to make sure I pull my emotion out of there. It's not my way. It's not my way, the highway. This is the best procedure and policy to use for that scenario. So when you're communicating with others, make sure I pull that out there because you never want them to think this is Judy's way. It's not one way or the other. It's just how you communicate with anybody. Clarity. You need to really talk clear. One of my things is you learn a lot about yourself when you're talking about communication and going through here. I tend to talk a little fast and I have a little bit of an accent where some of my words, not an accent, but a little sound in my voice where sometimes people don't understand me clearly. So I tend to practice talking slower. A lot of times, you can practice using clarity in your email. A lot of times when I'm out there on an email, because emails are communications as well, I will type an email out raw, directly on how I feel and how I want it. Then I go back and I reread it and I go and I pull out all the I's because we're always working as a team when we're working out there. Typically it's never an I statement. So I then move on my I's. Then the next thing I go through is make sure I pull out anything that I might find confusing. And sometimes I reach out to a friend to help the friend. The lights just went off at my work. Sometimes I reach out a friend to go through and help read my emails so that I know that I'm clear and I'm getting through that message without any confusion. Phoning a friend is always an option. Whoops. Friendliness. I pride myself on being friendly. I really pride myself. I'm a people person. I try to always be friendly so that when my communications is out there, I want to encourage everybody to be with me. I can train up to 100 people in a session. Like I said, different times in a day. I always want to make sure I'm friendly. I want to make sure they want to come to me. Do you feel comfortable asking the person that's presenting the person that's communicating with you, do you feel comfortable talking with them? Well, giving that friendliness when you're communicating with them allows them to let them know, hey, yeah, they do care. They do want to listen. I do want to hear your feedback. I'm the sender, you're the receiver. I want to hear back from you because I'll give a training or I'll give a presentation numerous times. And each time I do it, my goal is to hear that feedback, hear that from the receiver so that I know how to go in and change and make it better for the next person. Confidence. Whenever you're communicating something out there, you need to be confident in your words and your knowledge. So if I'm going for this presentation, I actually needed to be confident
confident and be knowledgeable in what I was talking to you about. If I didn't spend any time on research and doing this, how are you supposed to know if I'm a reliable source to come and get this information from? So I hope I'm conveying in my communication to you my confidence in this subject, because that's really what you want to be ready. I'm prepared for a question you might ask me. I'm strong and I'm steady and I'm going to cover training